In the beginning of time, the Creator Lord, Eru Ilúvatar, brought forth several subordinate gods, known as the Valar, tasked with assisting in the creation of the world through a magical chant. Only Eru had the ability to create life. The lesser gods' jobs was to prepare the world, thus creating mountains, rivers, and forests to shelter the most important creations, elves and humans. Melkor was the most powerful among the Valar. However, from an early age, he was envious and disagreed with the way Eru's creation of life was handled. When the Valar sang the great song before Eru, Melkor took the opportunity to release his dark thoughts into the song, and discord immediately rose around him. Some of the closest Valar tuned into Melkor's music, and two musical themes warred before the divine throne. When Eru concluded the song, he scolded Melkor. He told him that whatever he brought into existence would still be connected to Eru's power. Melkor's envy turned to hatred, and he began to harbor contempt for all living things. Melkor often isolated himself in the Great Void, where he tried unsuccessfully to create a world according to his vision. Unable to conceive something original, Melkor used his powers to corrupt everything he touched, such as Balrogs and orcs. Besides these evil beings, Melkor manipulated in his favor some former companions of the Valar. One of them, Sauron, would become the Dark Lord's most faithful servant. A great war was fought between the Valar and the dark forces of Melkor. The battle between the heavenly beings had such an impact on the world that mountains were shattered and oceans churned. The Valar homeland, called Almarin, was also destroyed during the war. Then, the Valar went to the far west, where they built the heavenly city of Valinor, and invited the elves to live with them. In Valinor, the Valar also established new sources of light for the world, the two trees, one to provide golden light during the day, the other to provide silver light at night. Melkor coveted the light of the trees and conspired to destroy what could not be his. This opened a conflict with the Noldor, an elven tribe living in Valinor. Aware of the evil that dwelt in Melkor's mind, the elves began to call him by the derogatory name Morgoth, which means dark foe. Fëanor was the most exemplary elf of the Noldor, known for producing precious stones and creating the Silmarils, three magical gems that capture the phases of light from the Valinor trees. Since he could not have the trees of Valinor for himself, Morgoth became obsessed with the Silmarils, organizing a raid on Valinor to steal the jewels. Morgoth summoned the giant spider, Ungoliant, to attack and consume the power of the two trees until they dried up, aiding him in his invasion of Valinor. The trees were destroyed. In the dark and confusion, Morgoth looted the Silmarils and fled eastward across the sea. Morgoth placed the three Silmarils in a black crown, which he proudly displayed on his head. In response, Fëanor and his 7 sons made an unbreakable oath. They would kill anyone who kept them away from the Silmarils. Defying the Valar's advice, Fëanor rallied the Noldor elves to pursue Morgoth across the sea. 6 centuries of bloody battles, betrayal, and tragedy followed. Fëanor died from his wounds inflicted by Gothmog, the Lord of the Balrogs, during the battle under the stars. Morgoth's fortress, called Angband, was surrounded by a large army of Noldor elves. Morgoth was challenged by Fingolfin, Fëanor's half-brother, to a duel. Morgoth came out of the fortress in great strides, which sounded like thunder on the earth. He wore black armor, carried on his head the crown with the Silmarils, and had groaned the hammer of the underworld as his weapon, as well as a great iron shield. The duel was fierce. Flames emerged from the earth with every blow of Morgoth's hammer, but Fingolfin was faster and avoided all the powerful strikes. Fingolfin wounded Morgoth 7 times. Although Morgoth cried out in anguish, he was too powerful to die. Fingolfin was already exhausted from the fight and was struck by Morgoth's shield, falling to the ground, almost dying. When Morgoth put his foot on Fingolfin's neck to break it, Fingolfin, in one last blow, ran his blade through the Dark Lord's foot, and Morgoth's blood gushed out. The enraged Morgoth crushed Fingolfin, though he was left permanently limp from the injury. Sometime later, all of Middle-earth was still apprehensive in the face of Morgoth's fury. The War of Wrath began when the half-elf Arundel sailed to Valinor seeking help against Morgoth in Middle-earth. The Valar forces, along with the Vanyar and Noldor elves, traveled to stop the hateful enemy. In the ensuing battle, Morgoth's army was almost completely destroyed, and only a few dragons, balrogs, and orcs survived. The fortress of Angband was destroyed. Morgoth fled into the deepest tunnel. Even so, he was captured by the Valar, taken prisoner, and locked up in the ends of the world, in the Great Void, so that he would never return to Middle-earth. The Silmarils were plucked from his iron crown, but were eventually lost entirely shortly thereafter. The lies that Morgoth instilled in the hearts of elves and men created a perennial and indestructible seed. Sauron, his most powerful servant, remained loyal to his master's memory. For many centuries, he tried to put the world back into chaos. Even defeated and imprisoned, many prophesied that one day Morgoth would return, starting a great war that would spell the end of all things.